On your mark. Get ready. It's time to go the distance. For sports news and sports review, get ready. It's The Pitch.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Pitch. As always, I'm your host, John Fox, alongside here with Mitch Sabbatelli and Mike Peps Perrone. Now, today is our NBA Finals and Stanley Cup Championship edition of The Pitch. We're going to cover that, obviously. We're going to start with the NBA, but before we get into the finals, we are going to quickly recap the conference round, starting with the Eastern Conference Championship. The Boston Celtics fall to the Cleveland Cavaliers, unfortunately for us. Yeah. Who would like to take this first? On the keys for whatever. The keys for the Celtics losing, the keys for the Cavs winning.
Well, I just want to say, 5 minutes into the season, everyone thought this season was a done year. Gordon Hayward goes out there, breaks his leg, and then before the playoffs happen, Marcus Smart and Kyrie Irving get hurt. Marcus at least comes back. The Kyrie
Irving was just the icing on the cake. I honestly just couldn't. I don't know. And when the Celtics went up 2-0, I just still couldn't even believe it. I was like, it seems really all fishy and too good to be true.
But
I was like,
what I want to say is the fact that Jeff Green came in for an injured Kevin Love, two things there. He did a very above adequate job as filling in for Kevin Love, but the fact that you lose to a team that has the second best player as Kevin Love doesn't really shed light against the Celtics. It more sheds light on how good LeBron is and just how good and how much of an icon in the playoffs this man is. I mean, this is now his 8th straight finals, and even Michael Jordan can't say that. Say what you want about the fact that he's only won 3, but the fact that he's been to 8 straight is just remarkable. And there was just too much LeBron here. There was some plays where Brad Stevens was just like, hey, listen, just don't even get in his way, because then not only you're going to let him score, you're also going to get a foul. These guys, this is a great learning curve for the Boston Celtics. A bunch of young guys there, Terry Rozier, Tatum, and Jalen Brown. I mean, Tatum can't even legally have a drink right now. I mean, the guy's 20. He got thrown out of an LA nightclub because they knew he was too young. And this team is a couple years away, but now when you get Kyrie more into the fold, Hayward more into the fold, and I just want to say one thing. Horford had a tremendous playoff, and I was big against Horford last year. He was excellent this year. But the one thing before Peps talks is Brad Stevens, as much credit as he gets against that Philly series, I think he could have done a little bit more to combat LeBron and the fact that he was just saying, okay, shoot, too much threes.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the Celtics were underdogged. Were they even underdogged in the Bucks? They were projected to win the Bucks series, right?
They were projected to win the Bucks, and they were
underdogged. I honestly, right when I saw that Philly series, I was thinking to myself, I'm like, how was Philly deemed this magical team out of nowhere?
No.
They're all young. They're still developing. Simmons can't even shoot the ball yet. I mean, it's like his rookie season. I didn't buy it. I thought the Celtics were going to win that series, personally, but I was shocked when they brought Cleveland to 7. I really didn't think we were going to win. I really didn't think we were going to win the series.
I don't know.
I thought Cleveland was going to win the whole time, but I mean, everybody has that seed of thought of like, we could possibly get to the finals.
There was something not right about Game 1 and Game 2. Did you feel like LeBron was just carelessly throwing away balls?
Well, here's the thing.
I looked at it as I was like, this is really not like him.
LeBron was like saving his energy, I feel like.
He was assessing.
He was saving his energy for the run.
He was exposing his team.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like LeBron always, with the player that he is, he literally in an interview, post-game interview, play by play of 10 sequence events in a row. That's a special kind of player. Not anybody can just do that. So he's assessing everything out there. He's evaluating, trying to see what he can do, what he can't get away with. And I agree with what you said. With Jeff Green, with anything. I think the problem with Kevin Love was I feel like he was just in his own head after missing so many shots. And I feel like that he just didn't bring the energy that Jeff Green brought. He brought energy. He's a faster player, I feel maybe a little bit more effective even on defense on the boards. With Tristan Thompson, brought some more energy to the lack of defensive energy that LeBron brought to the floor for the most part. But I think that the biggest issue was Brad Stevens did a phenomenal job coaching until Game 7. You have
Also,
seven and a half.
Also, the biggest issue is whenever you have like at least like 15 plus seconds on the shot clock, and Marcus Smart has the ball. Tell him not, like, shout at him.
He can
do
only
not
make a
take
shot
a three.
if there's 8 guys
Like,
covering him. That's it.
That is tremendously
him,
stupid basketball. Like,
I think
to just
him and Rozier combined for like something like 2 for 26.
It was terrible.
Or something horrible.
No, him and Rozier didn't hit a 3.
Well, no, I mean Rozier had a couple of field goals.
With Jaylen Brown, I think it was
Jaylen had like
for
30,
39.
he was maybe 30% from the field.
All
maybe.
3 of those guys, but
Yeah.
I think there's 2 points here. I think there was a big turning point in Game 7. It was Jason Tatum versus LeBron for the first 3 quarters, and I feel like Tatum was elevating himself as listen, this guy is the real deal. After he made a dunk, he did a weird chest bump to LeBron, and LeBron looked back at him, and I think that kind of made
LeBron looked back at him and said,
Never
yeah,
taught-
I've always had a bolstered team. I'm going to put you in
but I
there.
think that- I think that made-
Why taunt somebody like that?
That's true, but at the same time, when you're out there, there was a meme where the last time LeBron wasn't in the finals, there was a picture of Jason Tatum at 11 years old, and he's 11 years old. So this guy's been looking up to LeBron for almost a decade here, and now you see Jason Tatum. He makes a huge dunk, one of the best dunks I've seen all playoffs, and he makes his chest bump, and LeBron stares back at him, and you can see that he was melding at something. So what I'm thinking is it made him a little timid. Right after that dunk, he shoots the 3 and he scores the 3. And then after that should be Tatum's ball. He should have that ball, and Marcus Smart bricks a complete open 3, and then Marcus Morris bricks a complete open 3. The one other thing I want to talk about LeBron before we move on is as good as LeBron is a player, and he is the best player I've ever seen. Anyone who says Kobe is better than LeBron is kind of holding back on how great LeBron is. But I don't
necessarily think
when he has a superstar,
I don't know about that. I think
Kobe's an assassin.
I think Kobe is.
When LeBron has a superstar,
I think Kobe's a better player than LeBron.
I think the superstar.
Kobe
I don't think
those.
I don't think it's as obvious as you're making it sound.
LeBron makes the rest of his team better. Although when he has
LeBron
a
makes the rest of his superstar team every year. Where did he go with that? He could never make that next step and get to the finals.
You're right. But
without those superstar teams,
I think he does better without those superstars.
And if you say this year's
personally,
team,
he does better without a superstar.
Yeah, and I think Kevin Love,
team-wise, he does not.
Yeah, if you say and if you're like get back to that was like, well, look at this year's Cavaliers team. It's like, yeah, but still like. Look at the teams that he had to face to get to the finals.
Right.
He just faced a Celtics team with nobody on.
Yeah, exactly.
With
That's the
nobody,
thing.
everybody gone.
Everybody's deeming him this GOAT thing, and people bringing all these
The
heads on
point
these
spread.
shows.
The point spread is the largest point spread
ridiculous.
in NBA history for Game 1 tonight. Yeah. They're predicting the Warriors to at least win by 13.
My issue is you have Brad Stevens' coaching job. Second half, the fourth quarter, worst coaching performance of the entire season.
By far.
Okay, yeah.
7.5 minutes left. You have the Cavs in the penalty. First of all, Tatum and Horford don't have the ball, and you have Terry Rozier out there with Marcus Smart. Neither one can make a shot, and they're throwing up horrible threes.
Yeah.
Why do you not take Terry off the bench, go with the bigger lineup, bring in a Marcus Morris, and have a big lineup?
I agree.
And then have Tatum at the 3.
Rozier's game.
Okay, I think
it was
we
not
need to
Terry
move
Rozier's
on
game, but
after,
I think
after you finish.
I just think that you have to get the ball into Horford. They have to be aggressive, and Tatum needs to get the ball and make plays. He needs to be like Paul Pierce was when the Celtics first were not that good. He reminds me of what that needed to be, and he wasn't.
Before we move on, I just want to say how this is one of LeBron's best playoff performances, but every time somebody talks about a great LeBron playoff performance, they talk about this one. They talk about the one that he takes Matthew Dellavedova. They talk about the one that he took a team of Larry Hughes and Zydrunas Ilgauskas all the way to the finals against the Spurs. He does really, really well with these subpar players, great shooters like the Korver, like the J.R. Smith, who had a horrible series. But I feel like when he gets a superstar, and yeah, he has done well with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh, they get a little bit worse, they get a little bit more timid, and I think that's what happened with Kevin Love. When he got hurt, that Game 6, I think that was a huge game changer for Cleveland.
All right, moving on to the Western Conference Championship. The Golden State Warriors beat the Rockets. They come back from being down 3-2. Thoughts on this series?
My issue is with Houston is you're too set in your identity. Your coach is attack first offense. We're going to run. We get turnovers. We're going to rely on the 3. You lose by 9. At one point in time, you are 0 for 25. I could have made some of these threes. These were some of the worst. These were some of the straight 25 straight shots. Is what I remember them. I remember them going on. It might have been 27, but I remember them specifically at one point being like 25 is insane, and they're missing wide open threes. Like these are horrible misses. These are like I can't make these shots. Where's CP3? We can't make any twos. And the ironic thing is, after I was watching the game with Mitch, getting aggravated at the Rockets about saying, why do they keep taking these threes?
Tough one to watch with him.
5 straight possessions, they made 5 straight 2-point baskets. And at that point, you're still down 10. You just set yourself up for failure.
That's smart basketball.
That's what
from
you're
the
supposed
Warriors
to do.
standpoint. Yeah, you just attack any way that you can.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
If you have an open three, you shoot the open three.
The Warriors were like, we have Steph Curry. He's going to score the last 10 straight points that are going to be the difference in the game, and we're going to make you look bad because we're better than you, and we know it. And we're just going to take the game. I mean, CP3 not being in is the reason, I believe, is a huge reason for why they lost. I still don't know if they win the game. I think they win. I think they lose by a basket with CP3. I think the Warriors still pull it out. But I really think not having CP3 in there was pretty much the difference. I wanted the Rockets to win so bad.
Did the Rockets choke?
The Rockets choked because they had 25 wasted possessions with nothing out of it from threes.
Yeah.
You're bringing the shot clock down to 4 or 5. Like, Harden's looking like a lost cause. He's looking like Pac-Man running around out there trying to make something happen, and he's just throwing up horrible shots. Ariza can't hit a wide open three. Gordon was horrendous for someone who gets praised so great on his three-point shooting. I've never seen so many bricks come off of his hands. It was a terrible game to watch, and Steph Curry just said, I'm going to take over. And the biggest key to that series and everything that they do, I'll tell you right now, Steph Curry is the key. I think Durant is a third. Durant, in my mind, for keys to success, is third wheel in this one.
Really
I think
is.
it goes Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant. Klay Thompson's defense is huge for that team.
Yeah.
And right when he had 3 fouls right away, I was like, the Rockets are stupid to not keep attacking. And they shot threes, and they shot themselves out of a conference final victory and an NBA final appearance. They shot themselves out of the game, just like the Celtics did.
Well, let me interrupt Max Kellerman for 2 seconds here. I was watching this game with him, and it was the third quarter, and everyone knows how Golden State's magical quarter is the third quarter. And I think it was number 6 miss in a row where Peps wanted to start switching it, and we've got a History Channel and a bunch of other channels. And I was like, no, listen, come back, because they're going to come back. I know Mike D'Antoni is going to call a timeout, and he never called a timeout. He just let it go. So a lot of the heat, as much as the heat goes on James Harden and Trevor Ariza and PJ Tucker, I thought PJ Tucker had a great Game 7. It also goes on Mike D'Antoni. He didn't call a timeout during that whole entire thing. And like Pep said, I love what he said. Kevin Durant's their best player, but the most Golden State Warrior player out there is Steph Curry. And when he's going, that's what makes him so good. That's what makes him so majestic and so historically the greatest probably assembled team of all time. And he took over in that third quarter. That's his quarter. And I think there's a couple things there with that Houston team. The lack of experience. And I think with Chris Paul, had he not gotten hurt, I think he would have been able to slow that game down, get
some 2-pointers in the basket.
Slow that whole stretch down where not only his defense on Curry would have helped, but also his prowess on offense to calm the whole tempo down, maybe get a couple twos. Because you saw, once Houston started creeping up there back under 10, that's when PJ Tucker started getting the twos. That's when Harden started going to the rack. And that's when these guys like Clint Capella had a great second half. I don't know, first half, I don't know what happened about him in the second half. And that's would have been a huge difference. And Chris Paul, had he been there, they would have won.
Okay. Boldly stated. All right. Now moving on to the NBA Finals. For the 4th consecutive year in a row, the Cleveland Cavaliers will face the Golden State Warriors. Keys to the Warriors winning this. We'll go with you, Mitch.
Yeah, so I've been a fan of sports since 2001, and I've never seen this kind of a rivalry ever. And it's kind of a little bit overrated of a rivalry just because of the lack of competition in the East.
Star power.
And
but besides the Kevin Durant signing, there's really no star power that was, signed. Well,
they drafted all the other guys.
It was homegrown.
Right. And
with the Warriors. And you definitely do.
Getting Kevin Durant is just another free agent to add, and I think it was completely acceptable. But I think this whole rivalry between the Cavs and Golden State is more LeBron versus Golden State. Now that Kyrie is gone, everyone's already saying how this is going to be a four-game sweep. I think that's discrediting how good LeBron is and how much he gets refs to give him, not really give him calls, but how much he's earned those calls at home, and he will. Every time he gets to the rack, he gets those calls. And the one thing that the Golden State doesn't have is a guy that can stop LeBron. I'm not saying the Warriors won't win the series. They will, but I think it's going to go 6. I think the Warriors are going to win in 6. And what happens is in that third quarter, I think Cleveland really, really needs to stop Steph Curry in that third quarter. They can neutralize Klay Thompson. And I like what Peps said. Klay Thompson, he's the second most important Warrior. He's the third, maybe the fourth best player on the Warriors, but the second most important Warrior. Because when he's going, that's when the Warriors are going. Kevin Durant's the best player, but the third most important Warrior.
Yep.
And when you have Curry out there, what they really need to do, I think this is a big game for George Hill. George Hill's known for his defense and for his experience. He really needs to stop Stephen Curry, similar to what Matthew Dellavedova did a couple years ago to stop Steph Curry. Because if you can stop Steph Curry, you throw LeBron on Kevin Durant, and Klay Thompson, he's all or nothing. He's going to be either a dominating three-point shooter where you can get 36 points in one quarter, or kind of be thrown away. He's never going to be that most consistent player where he can drop to the rack. Draymond Green, I saw something last series. He is not a really good offense. He's a very, very overrated
overrated player. He should not be all this talk of all-star.
Great defense.
He is great defense.
And he's a great passer for his size. He can play a lot of positions. But as far as when he's open or when he's trying to create his own shot, he cannot do that. So I would let Draymond go. But I do think the Warriors are just too much firepower here. And I think this is a big test for Tyronn Lue. Everyone says how it's LeBron versus the Warriors. I think this is time for Tyronn Lue to start getting these new players in there and try to also, he needs to get Korver in the game earlier. There was a couple games against the Celtics where he didn't bring Korver in until the second quarter. Korver is your third best player now that Love is back. And I want Korver to be basically right there with Klay Thompson the whole entire series. But I'm going to say Warriors in 6.
Keys to the Warriors taking the series. Plain simple. Do not play iso ball. Cavs want you to play iso ball. If you play iso ball with Kevin Durant, you will shoot yourself out of the series. Kevin Durant is a phenomenal talent, and his biggest knock is trying to make too much happen when you don't need to make something happen and throwing up these terrible shots for no reason. So pretty much like we were talking about earlier, keys to the series for the Warriors, get Klay and Steph going. You need to get Klay in defense, and I mean, to be honest, I just think that they have too many weapons. There's just way too many weapons. If Iggy comes back, it's a done deal in 5. It's a done deal in 5 if Iggy's back. And if he doesn't come back,
I think it would be a miracle for them to even win 2 games.
If the Cavs, my point here is if the Cavs want to win the series,
but I think they'll lose.
If the Cavs want to win the series, they need someone to get hurt. Like that's the only way they're going to win the series. Somebody gets hurt, or my two keys.
Draymond in the, you know, that could be.
Yeah, or they need to step over Draymond and do nothing.
My two keys. Don't even
get me started. That's the sole reason the Cavs
Warriors,
won that.
In my opinion, aside from Draymond Green, are very soft. They can't take physicality. Mm-hmm. Kevin Durant is like a deer. He does not like to. He likes to run around, be graceful, do his thing. He does not like to get pushed. They don't like to get pushed. They don't like to get pushed off the ball. The Cavs need to be physical, aggressive, attack the rim, and they need to start Jeff Green in Game 1, I think, to keep that pace going of what they had coming out of the Celtics series. I think the Cavs' only way to win is LeBron scoring 40-plus every night.
That's the next question.
And
keys
also,
for the Cavs winning.
Keys to the Cavs
very
winning.
Quickly.
LeBron getting 40-plus each game, playing solid defense, pretty much being out there for over 45 minutes every game. And then you also need your people to shoot at least 45 to 50%, on top of the fact that you need to be physical and you need to charge the lane with the ball. You cannot play the same ball that the Warriors play because you're not good enough to do so. So you need to drive the lane and be physical with your bigger guys, because I believe Cleveland is a bigger team, and I think Cleveland needs to be on the attack.
This is my biggest key. I think the big difference between this year and the rest of the 3 is the fact that Kyrie is not there. I know he was not there for one of the games, but one of the series. But the one big thing in that series was, when I said earlier, the defense with Dellavedova, the defense with the Cleveland Cavaliers. This year, it's all going to be about defense on Curry and Klay Thompson. The one bad thing against Kyrie is his on-the-ball defense. Now, what they were doing before is having Kyrie switch over to Klay Thompson and then put like a guy like a Dellavedova or whoever they had as the backup point guard on Curry to try to neutralize him in those series. Now, there's going to be 2 great defensive players out there, whether it's a J.R. Smith, George Hill, or you can maybe drop LeBron onto Clay and make a bigger guy go over to Kevin Durant. So that defense or those point guards, I need George Hill to show that experience and really try to stop Steph Curry and let him do his thing in the third quarter, but you're really going to stop him in the first half. If you can keep the game close or go ahead with the lead come halftime, you might have a shot. If you are buried or even losing by 10, come halftime, you're going to lose. So I want a big defense on Steph Curry and on Klay Thompson, because I think even Kevin Durant's not going to be able to stop LeBron. So the big defense is to really try to neutralize one of those two, Klay Thompson or Steph Curry, and get Draymond to shoot.
They're bigger and stronger. They need to be physical. If they're physical and play hard like the Rockets did against the Warriors in that game 5 and 6, they were playing like their lives were on the line. Yeah. That was some of the best defensive play I'd seen all playoffs. The Rockets playing in game 5.
Use your bigs there. Go down big. Use the Nance. Use the Tristan Thompson, because really they don't really have too much. Think about it.
The more physical you are, you're going to get somebody in foul trouble. The Rockets had that game with CP3 and when Klay Thompson and 3 fouls right away. Yeah. They could have won that game if they had CP3.
All right, very quickly, Peps. Key players for both teams. Very quickly. We need to get moving on to NHL.
Pretty much, it's just I think. Andre Iguodala is huge because he's the best defensive player on that team. I think Iggy covering, we'll probably cover LeBron, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Iggy on LeBron and then Klay Thompson being in there, but making sure Iggy's healthy and ready to go, I think, is honestly the key part of that, on top of the fact that you just need Klay Thompson to play his game. And then you know what Durant and Curry bring. So I mean,
and then say key players for the Cavs.
Key players for the Cavs are Kyle Korver, and I would have to say Tristan Thompson. Tristan Thompson needs to be physical, get those boards, attack the rim. They need to get some flow. J.R. Smith needs to show energy. Jeff Green needs to show energy, speed, attack the rim, everybody. They have to go at the rim. They can't shoot. They cannot shoot a ton of threes because they are not good enough, in my opinion. I don't think they're good enough to make all those threes. I think J.R. Smith is a horrible three-point shooter all of a sudden. I don't know what happened to him.
I think the big difference here is I think it's more X factors for Cleveland. I love what Pep said about Tristan Thompson. 2 years ago, there's a reason why Tristan Thompson got that contract. I don't know what's going on with the whole Khloe Kardashian thing. I think it's taking a little bit of an issue with him in his play this year. But 2 years ago, he was a man on the offensive boards. He was getting 20 rebounds, and he was a force, and that's why he got that contract. The big difference in this matchup is Tristan Thompson versus whoever the hell the center is for the Golden State, whether it's Zaza, Draymond, whoever. That's a huge mismatch. And also, George Hill's defense on Curry. Like Pep said, Korver needs to be that third best offensive weapon. And also, J.R. Smith, if he's not getting it done, get him out of there. But I want J.R. Smith and his experience to be hitting that three.
They could bring. I think bringing in a combination of Clarkson and Nance for some youth and some height would be nice too.
And as far as Golden State's X factor goes, Draymond Green, he needs the intensity. I didn't see that last series.
Definitely. Okay, moving on. Stanley Cup Finals. Currently, the Vegas Golden Knights and Washington Capitals are tied at 1 game apiece. We have somebody here right now who's representing the Washington Capitals, Mitch Sabbatelli right here, with that nice suit. And
I like that. I like the
Capitals. Whose jersey is it?
It's Ovi.
Oh.
But the thing is,
why did I ask?
This is my thing here. Who else? Yeah, who else?
Yeah.
Backstrom.
Okay. Keys, Mitch, we'll start with you first. Keys for the Golden Knights taking this series.
Well, I don't think anyone. This is a really interesting, uninteresting final, in my opinion. Finally, Ovi broke that whole Sidney Crosby, Ovechkin that rivalry, and he's never been able to get past Sidney Crosby. He finally did. I don't think these are the two best teams in the NHL. I think the two best teams, in my opinion, are probably Nashville and either Tampa or Pittsburgh. But these are the two teams that got there, and you got to give Vegas credit. I think finally Vegas is giving Vegas credit, making them the favorites in the series, well-deserved favorites, because there's a lot of people in Vegas who have put money on Golden Knights and won a ton of money. Jonathan Marshall's show has shown everybody why the Florida Panthers got rid of him too early. He's an incredible player, both offensively and defensively. William Karlsson had a tough series last series, but I expect him, with the amount of goals that he had in the regular season, to continue this in the Stanley Cup. But the one thing that the Washington Capitals have this year that they haven't had in the past is physicality. Tom Wilson has been huge for them on that right wing. They've had guys in the defensive front, John Carlson. A bunch of those defensive pairings have been completely physical the whole entire playoffs. But Tom Wilson, Evgeny Kuznetsov has the most points in the entire Stanley Cup playoffs. Those two guys have been physical and has really taken the pressure off of Alex Ovechkin. Your best player is Alex Ovechkin. The best player in the series is Alex Ovechkin. But I'm rooting for the Golden Knights. I do think this is Ovi's time. I think it was similar to when the Red Sox beat the Yankees in '04. Everyone already knew that series was over and they were going to beat Cardinals because that was the big hump that they had to get over.
There you go.
Getting over Pittsburgh.
Except the Capitals would be up 2-0 if that was the case.
But what I'm saying is the fact that he got over Sidney Crosby, they got over the Yankees. Now I think it's the Capitals' series to lose. If
It was good to get over the Yankees.
If there is any time a Stanley Cup that Ovechkin will get, this is his cup that he gets. This is the weakest opponent, but I'm rooting for Vegas.
I'm rooting for Washington because I think Ovi deserves one. I think Vegas was I think Vegas pretty much took a bunch of guys, come together, and we have a bunch of veteran guys, and we can play.
Guys.
But here's the biggest issue with Vegas. If that top line does not produce, they will lose this series, and it will fade quickly. Especially tied 1-1 now with the nice comeback that the Caps had, an unbelievable save by Holtby, which I think is going to be a huge key to this series. And also, I just believe that the Knights they're good. I just don't think they're better than Washington. I like Fleury. The fact that he's won the last 2 Stanley Cups in a row, pretty much, makes him also helpful for them. But if Marchessault, Carlson, and Smith are not producing in that line, they're in deep trouble. They're gonna have to rely on Fleury a lot. And I think that if the Capitals shut down that line, I think it's signed, sealed, delivered. I think the Capitals did that in Game 2 and they won 3-2. If the Capitals can shut down that line at home, it's going to be 3-1 coming to Vegas. I think Vegas win that one. I think Caps are going to win 6. I think the Caps deserve it, and I think it's been long awaited for Ovechkin.
I think Gerard Gallant's done an incredible job all year after the whole entire Mandalay Bay thing, and he's really used that to his advantage as far as, it really brought the whole city together, and they've really rode the Knights' coattails there with that whole tragedy, and we've seen it in the past with tragedies. It's helped the Houston Astros with the hurricane. It's helped the Boston Marathon in 2013 with the Red Sox. Then they really catapulted off of that and really joined as a team. But there's a big matchup here. Braden Holtby and Alex Ovechkin is really the difference makers for the Capitals because of their experience. You saw what Holtby can do last series against Tampa. Tampa doesn't have that same kind of experience, and that was the big issue with the Capitals. Holtby is an elite, very underrated elite goaltender in this league, and obviously Ovechkin, he's been through all the games. He hasn't ever gotten to the Stanley Cup, but he's been through all those games and used that experience to his advantage. 2 players on the Knights that are huge, crucial players, like Peps said. Fleury's been there the last 2 years, and also James Neal. I expect those 2 guys to really show their leadership and help out guys like Marchessault and Riley Smith and William Karlsson. And also Derek England, I think he's been huge for them in the regular season. Haven't really shown it as much in the playoffs. I want that leadership to continue, but
They need to get something from the 3rd and 4th line.
yeah.
Okay, so just to set the record straight, you're taking Golden Knights to win?
No, I want them to win, but I'm taking Washington to win.
So you both are taking Washington?
Washington 6.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
By the way, that was a
Until I see
phenomenal Game 1. The most lead changes in a Game 1 ever in NHL Stanley Cup history.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
All right, so that pretty much wraps up this episode of The Pitch. We had been gone for quite a while, about a 3-month hiatus, but it looks like we're back on track and we're ready to go. So you can expect more episodes to be uploaded to YouTube and Vimeo pretty soon. So with that, we will see you next episode. Have a good one, guys.